Donald Trump has frequently expressed admiration for Andrew Jackson, calling him his favorite president. This stems from Jackson's populist appeal, strong executive actions, and championing of the common man. Trump drew parallels between their decisive anti-elite styles and even hung a portrait of Jackson in the Oval Office. As Trump runs for president again, we're exploring the legacy of Andrew Jackson, a man whose ruthless determination continues to shape American politics. Let's dive into the life and impact of Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, the explosive and unyielding son of the frontier, known as Old Hickory, King Andrew, and the Jackass. He was the conqueror of New Orleans, an expeller of empires, a founder of modern democracy, a defender of American sovereignty, and a scourge of Native Americans. Emerging from the wilds of the Carolinas, Jackson was shaped by hardship and driven by an unyielding will to dominate and protect his vision of the American Republic. Born in 1767 to Irish immigrants in the Waxhaws region, Andrew Jackson's youth was marked by the chaos of the Revolutionary War. Jackson and his older brothers, Hugh and Robert, served on the Patriot side against British forces. Tragically, Hugh died from heat exhaustion after the Battle of Stono Ferry, and Robert passed away 2 days after being released from a British camp where they suffered from smallpox and malnourishment. Jackson's mother contracted cholera and died while caring for American prisoners of war held on British prison ships. While a prisoner of war, a British officer struck young Andrew Jackson for refusing to polish the officer's boots, leaving Jackson with a scar on his face. These sufferings left a deep-seated hatred of the British and reinforced his disdain for aristocracy and political privilege. In 1784, he went to Salisbury, North Carolina, where he studied and became a lawyer by age 20. After studying law, Jackson ventured to the Tennessee frontier, becoming a frontier lawyer. He eventually married Rachel Donaldson Robards, though their union was shadowed by scandal. Rachel's divorce was not finalized at the time of their marriage, leading to accusations of bigamy that would haunt them. Additionally, her previous husband accused Jackson of committing adultery, which led Jackson to challenge him to a duel that fortunately never took place. In 1801, Andrew Jackson was appointed colonel of the Tennessee militia and later elected its commander. His military prowess shone during the Creek War of 1813 to 1814. At the Battle of Tallahatchie, Jackson's troops decimated a Red Stick village, demonstrating his ruthless approach to warfare. Jackson continued his campaign against the Red Sticks, securing another victory at the Battle of Talladega. Despite being outnumbered at the Battle of Emuckfaw and in Atachapo Creek, Jackson's strategic prowess led his forces to repel the Creek attacks. Finally, Jackson's decisive victory over the Creek Nation at Horseshoe Bend forced them to cede vast territories to the United States through the Treaty of Fort Jackson. At the Battle of Pensacola, Jackson seized the Spanish-held Pensacola, weakening British influence in the region. He then followed it up with the Battle of New Orleans, where he crushed the British, defeating the most formidable army ever arrayed against the young republic. This victory saved the nation from the humiliations of the War of 1812 and established Jackson as America's preeminent hero. Jackson achieved national fame with this stunning victory over the British, and popular songs and plays glorified his new heroic image. Jackson's ferocity then extended to the First Seminole War of 1817 to 1818, where he commanded U.S. forces with ruthless efficiency, leading to the annexation of Florida from Spain. In this war, Jackson's forces destroyed Negro Fort, along with several Seminole settlements, and pursued Seminoles across northern Florida. The Spanish government expressed outrage over Jackson's punitive expeditions into their territory and his brief occupation of Pensacola. But as was made clear by several local uprisings and other forms of border anarchy, Spain could no longer defend nor control Florida, and eventually agreed to cede it to the United States. Briefly serving as Florida's first territorial governor, Jackson returned to the Senate. His reputation as a fierce defender of American expansion solidified. In the political arena, Andrew Jackson's influence was equally profound. Elected as the 7th President of the United States in 1828, he championed the cause of the common man, against what he viewed as a corrupt aristocracy. His presidency marked the advent of Jacksonian democracy, a movement that sought to expand democratic rights and participation to a broader segment of the population. Jackson's firm stance against the Bank of the United States and his support for states' rights and limited federal government were hallmarks of his administration. As president, Jackson's legacy was marked by both monumental achievements and profound controversies. In 1830, Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, leading to the infamous Trail of Tears, where tens of thousands of Native Americans were forcibly displaced, resulting in thousands of deaths. The nullification crisis of 1832 to 1833 tested Jackson's resolve. When South Carolina attempted to nullify federal tariffs, Andrew Jackson threatened military action, asserting the supremacy of federal law. His veto of the recharter of the Second Bank of the United States in 1832 demonstrated his view of the institution as a bastion of corruption, leading to its dismantling. Jackson's administration also repaid all the nation's debt, a unique accomplishment, and he survived the first assassination attempt on a sitting president in 1835. His recognition of the Republic of Texas as one of his final acts cemented his expansionist vision. Andrew Jackson's rise to power was accompanied by a legacy forever tainted by the virulent racism that coursed through his veins. Like many people of his time, he was a man whose actions and policies were fueled by a belief in the inherent superiority of the white race, leading to some of the most heinous acts in American history. With the stroke of a pen, Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act in 1830, unleashing a wave of terror and death upon tens of thousands of Native Americans. This monstrous legislation authorized the forced relocation of indigenous peoples from their ancestral homelands in the southeastern United States to desolate territories west of the Mississippi River. The Trail of Tears, a tragic exodus marked by suffering and death, stands as a testament to Jackson's ruthless pursuit of land and power. Thousands perished from exposure, disease, and starvation, their cries for mercy ignored by a man who viewed them as obstacles to be eradicated. Jackson's cold justification of this atrocity was cloaked in deceitful paternalism, claiming it would enable them to pursue happiness in their own way and under their own rude institutions, when in truth he believed they were incapable of civilization. Following the slaughter at Horseshoe Bend, Andrew Jackson imposed the Treaty of Fort Jackson upon the defeated Creek Nation in 1814, forcing them to cede over 21 million acres of their land. This land grab included territory belonging to tribes that had allied with the United States, betraying even those who had fought alongside him. Jackson's disregard for Native American sovereignty and rights was absolute, his hunger for expansion insatiable. Andrew Jackson's contempt for Native Americans was evident in his words, viewing them as inherently inferior and declaring they have neither the intelligence, the industry, the moral habits, nor the desire of improvement. At his plantation, the Hermitage, Andrew Jackson wielded the whip and chain with ruthless efficiency, owning over 150 slaves whose lives were consumed by backbreaking labor and the ever-present threat of brutal punishment. His wealth and status were built on the blood and sweat of these men and women, treated as mere chattel in his relentless pursuit of profit. Andrew Jackson's defense of slavery was unyielding, once stating that emancipating slaves would be akin to throwing them from the decks of a ship in the Middle Passage. He saw their subjugation as necessary for the prosperity of the white man. Jackson's vitriol extended to those who dared to challenge the institution of slavery. He viewed abolitionists as a dire threat to the nation's stability and economy, his hatred for them palpable. His support for the expansion of slavery into new territories revealed his deep-seated belief that African Americans were destined to serve their white masters. Andrew Jackson's fear of emancipation was rooted in his belief in racial hierarchy, arguing that it would lead to the greatest evils that could befall a nation. Andrew Jackson's letters and speeches are rife with derogatory terms and dehumanizing language, his contempt for Native Americans and African Americans laid bare for all to see. Andrew Jackson's policies and personal actions resulted in immense suffering and loss of life. His treatment of slaves was marked by physical punishment and coercion, while his military campaigns against Native Americans were characterized by brutality and extermination. Andrew Jackson's life was riddled with personal controversies. His marriage to Rachel was marred by accusations of bigamy, and his ownership of over 150 slaves highlighted his harsh treatment of them. Known for his fiery temper, Andrew Jackson was involved in numerous duels. His involvement in duels and brawls contributed to his reputation as a tough and determined individual. In 1806, he fought a duel with Charles Dickinson. Dickinson insulted Jackson's wife, Rachel, leading to the duel. Jackson was seriously wounded but managed to kill Dickinson with a single shot. In 1813, he got into a brawl with Thomas Hart Benton and his brother Jesse Benton in a Nashville hotel. Although it was not a formal duel, it resulted in Jackson being seriously wounded by a gunshot. In 1788, he engaged in a formal duel with Waite-Still Avery. Neither man was injured, as both deliberately fired their pistols into the air, resolving the conflict without bloodshed. In 1803, he had a near duel with fellow politician John Sevier. The confrontation escalated to the point where both men drew weapons, but it was broken up before any shots were fired. After his presidency, Andrew Jackson supported Martin Van Buren and James K. Polk, advocating for the annexation of Texas. His legacy remains divisive. He is seen as a champion of democracy by some and a demagogue who bent the law to his will by others. His policies, especially the Indian Removal Act, are condemned as acts of ethnic cleansing. Jackson's presidency is ranked above average by scholars, but his reputation has declined in recent decades. His life, a tumultuous blend of valor and vice, left an indelible mark on American history, a legacy both revered and reviled. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to Valor and Vice for more historical insights.